You're growing less sleepy. You're waking up. You're waking. Good morning, everyone. Say hello to Andromalius. Giving you a little Goetia teaser this morning. And there's my favorite guy. This is the lid to my little magic box. Here, it's a beautiful scarab, about the size of the heart scarab. And there is the sigil of Goetic Spirit number 55. So I'm going to put this back into the box here. Oh, while I got the box out, there's my hexagram of Solomon that goes on the side of my, pinned on the side of my robe when I operate. And actually, it's I pinned it on the back of my juror's badge that I walked away from jury duty. And believe it or not, for about the last 20 years, this is my magic circle. It's a very thin silk cord. I place it on the floor around me when I operate. And sometimes the operation requires that I don't leave the circle until the object of my operation has manifested. So I actually wrap my circle around my body and leave it there until the object of my operation has manifested. So there's that. Today, today's date, there's a tarot card that goes with it, and it's the Three of Swords for today's card. See the date? And there's a couple of beautiful Goetic spirits that are assigned to today's date too. So let me put that back in their magic box. We only have 2 more days left of reading from Angels, Demons, and Gods of the New Millennium. And I wish I could finish up today, but it's Thursday and I've got to take Constance to the store. And it's our Thursday venturing out shopping day. So I'm going to start part 1 of chapter 7. Demons are our friends. And interspersed throughout this chapter are verses from Eliphas Levi's famous poem, The Magician. They sort of break up the sections. So if you're ready, let's begin. Chapter 7, Demons are our friends. O Lord, deliver me from hell's great fear and gloom. Loose thou my spirit from the larvae of the tomb. I seek them in their dread abodes without affright. On them will I impose my will, the law of light. Occasionally, I meet a fellow magician who is appalled to discover that now and again I ceremonially conjure up a demon from the Goetia to help me with a specific problem. They find it hard to reconcile such nasty business with my professed dedication to the great work, and ask why on earth would I want to dabble with evil spirits. My answer is very simple, yet it seldom satisfies the inquisitor. It's because all my life, evil spirits have been dabbling with me. Now, before you call the men in white coats, I think an explanation is in order. It may even change your opinion about evil spirits. Who knows? Before you're through reading this, you might just want to whip up one of those little devils yourself. I'd like to thank all the little people that made this moment possible. I've watched the Academy Awards presentations for over 30 years, and I've yet to hear anyone actually mention little people. Nevertheless, each year at the podium, almost every award winner recites a litany of behind-the-scenes studio or production personnel whose talents and labors contributed to the success of the film. Artists, writers, technicians, trainers, contractors, subcontractors, individuals whose names are unfamiliar and whose faces we never see or recognize for their talents, and are allowed for a fleeting moment to bask in the radiance of reflected celebrity. Sometimes, if the awardee is oblivious to the time restraints or particularly loquacious, owing to the inspiration of sincerity under the inspiration of sincerity-inducing chemicals, he or she will ramble on to thank the agents who represented them, the spouses who supported them, and the teachers who spanked them, and the parents who bred them. Gushing in the warmth of the footlights, it's likely the Oscar winner momentarily forgets that all this ecstasy is the result of a torturous journey through hell, and that the roster of little people so graciously honored would have, if left to their own devices, done nothing to make this moment of glory possible. The parasitic agent, the lecherous casting director, the indifferent foreign studio heads, the jealous co-star, the drunken makeup artist, the writers who went out on strike, the felonious producer, and, if we care to get Freudian, the blood-sucking ex-spouse, the sadistic teacher, and the abusive parent. All these little people and their minions, just by being themselves, could have with equal effort contributed to the star's ultimate ruin. Instead, something intervened to focus this scattered legion of raw energy toward one constructive end. Some great will, a director or producer in a position of authority and armed with specific knowledge of who to inspire, who to pay off, who to threaten, who to appease, who to seduce, who to extort, and perhaps even who to destroy, to assure that all the little people and the little people working under them were all laboring together for the success of the project. The student of practical occultism will, of course, recognize in the above scenario the characteristics of Solomonic magic or Goetia. The movie-making impresario is the conjuring magician, operating under the divine authority of the entity holding the purse strings. The little people are demons conjured at his or her command, and the offices, studios, laboratories, and workshops wherein they toil for their daily bread are the infernal abodes. The footnote says the reader who's ever visited the San Fernando Valley near Hollywood in the summer knows exactly what hell is. It seems deliciously appropriate that Hollywood subculture would so ideally reflect the dramatis personae of a system of practical occultism considered by many to be black magic. But we need not look farther than the circumstances of our own lives to see that we are all enmeshed in a complex web of magical evocations, by which we attempt to exercise our will upon the world, or the world attempts to exercise its will upon us. In fact, every day, each of us plays multiple roles in this conjuration. We're great and powerful magicians to the Little League team we coach, our employees, our students, and dogs. Alternately, we are boot-licking demon slaves to judges, employers, police officers, and cats. We plot with Machiavellian cunning to mold the circumstances of our career and love life, but with glassy-eyed obedience pay for a shyster mechanic's trip to Hawaii. Obviously, the analogies of everyday magic are infinite. After all, by the broadest definition of the term, magic is the science and art of causing change to occur in conformity with will. In the magic of movie making, it's relatively easy for us to trace the hierarchy of labor and the chain reaction of events set into motion by the director-magician. However, it is more impressive and a great deal spookier when the things we want done get done through an agency of a chain reaction we cannot see. This is magic of a more specific nature. And to wield this power, the magician must be willing to go to hell. The section is broken up with another little quote from Eliphas Levy's poem. I bid the night conceive the glittering hemisphere. Arise, O sun, arise, O moon, shine white and clear. I seek them in their dread abodes without affright. On them will I impose my will, the law of light. What is hell? Chrysalmuse, now identify the word Chrysalmuse as Christians, Muslims, and Jews. Chrysalmuse believe it's an environment created by God as a place of separation and torment. Allegedly, the first tenants were the rebellious angels led by Lucifer, who were tossed out of heaven for obeying God's prime directive not to worship anybody but him. The story goes, God was so pleased with his new creation, the human race, that he told the heavenly host to forget his first order and fall down and worship Adam. Lucifer, not particularly impressed with Adam, figured it was a bad idea and refused, probably thinking God would eventually become bored with his boy toy and come to his senses. Well, it should be obvious to everybody that the god of the Crizzle Muse never did come to his senses. And his first paranoid act was to kick the brightest and the most loyal employees out of the firm. Before he gave them the boot, however, he created a place to send them. A place as far below the earth as earth is below heaven. Hell. Then, so there would never be any doubt who was the father of the biggest dysfunctional family in the universe, God put Lucifer's crew in charge of the day-to-day maintenance of life on earth. The Lord of Hell was also given permission to torment and play mind games with humanity until some unspecified date in the future, when God would deal out a final round of punishments. Among these, a special place in hell for former members of the human race who during life did not see the wisdom of this divine plan. Readers who may not have yet divined my feelings concerning the Crizzle Muse spiritual worldview can stop reading right now and turn the television back on. The rest of you may be asking, why, if I hold the doctrine of heaven and hell in such contempt, do I participate in a spiritual exercise apparently based upon it? My answer, to be blunt, is simply this: because it works. Now, don't misunderstand me. I don't worship the Crizzle Muse God. Neither do I believe in their devil, heaven, hell, judgment, or redemption. I do, however, believe that these concepts portray, albeit crudely, certain fundamental truths concerning the nature of human consciousness. For those of us with brains, spines, and nervous systems, the grotesque elements of the Crizzle Muse fairy tale can be very real indeed. Recognized and manipulated with skill, they can even contribute to our physical well-being and spiritual enlightenment. Science tells us that we use only a tiny portion of our brains. And if our full potentials were realized, we could exercise godlike powers, perhaps even program our VCRs. That's how old this writing is. Aleister Crowley wrote, "The spirits of Goetia are portions of the human brain." Unquote. Each section is endowed with particular powers and dedicated to executing specific tasks. Brain surgeons know that if you stimulate different areas of the brain with an electrical current, the patient will react in different ways. Poke here, the left index finger twitches. Poke there, the patient smells burning rubber or recalls a childhood memory. Could it be that in the matrix of the untapped recesses of our brains there are little areas that, if properly isolated, stimulated, and directed, are capable of performing all manner of wonders? Even more thrilling is the prospect that the brain and nervous system represent only the visible spectrum of a vast, invisible mind. A universal intelligence encompassing the consciousness of every monad in the cosmos. If this is so, our brains are merely terminals in a great intelligence network. The different areas functioning as keys on a keyboard. Activated with skill, they can generate messages and trigger commands to corresponding quadrants of the universal system. Under this scenario, the debate over the objective or subjective reality of spirits becomes irrelevant. Each magician's microcosmic goetic spirit, Sitri, not only corresponds with every other magician's Sitri, but also resonates sympathetically with the great macrocosmic Sitri. Sitri is the name of the spirit. As we conjure Sitri to evoke the passions of the girl next door, we're also rubbing elbows with the same enchantment that draws magnetic negatives to positive, causes atoms to unite to form molecules, and lures Shakti to Shiva. And I think that's where we'll leave it for today. And we'll pick up and complete our reading of this chapter and Angels, Demons, and Gods of the New Millennium tomorrow on Friday. And then I think I'll start another book. And I'm open to suggestions at the moment. Well, anyway, I've got to strip out of my collegiate costume here and put on a t-shirt and take Constance to the Mother's Health Food Store and Market. So until tomorrow, continue to be good to yourself and good to each other. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law. Love under will.